10 Common Root Causes of Poverty. Poverty is a global problem. According to the World Bank, over 700 million people were living on less than $1.90 a day. While that represents an intensive problem milestone, the poverty rate in 1990 was over 1 billion. That's still 700 million people too many people. That number also includes extreme poverty, which is defined by the UN as a condition characterized by severe deprivation of basic human needs, including food, safe drinking water, sanitation facilities, health, shelter, education, and information. It depends not only on income but also on access to services. But the question is why they are poor. But why do they have no better food to eat? What is the reason? We tell you in this video. But if you did not subscribe to our channel Rugged Capitalist, then subscribe to our channel for more quick and good video notifications. Okay, let's see what causes poverty in the first place. Here are 10 root causes. Number 1. Lack of good jobs or job growth. This is the first reason a lot of people think about. When you don't have a good job, you aren't getting a good income. In many countries, traditional jobs like farming are disappearing. The Democratic Republic of Congo is a good example, where most of the population lives in rural areas stripped of natural resources from years of colonialism. Half of the DRC live below the poverty line. Even in nations like the United States, where many people do have jobs, those jobs aren't paying enough. According to the Economic Policy Institute, large groups of workers with full-time, year-round employment are still below federal poverty guidelines. Today, many countries in the world where 35% of people are in poverty, just like India, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, and other countries. Number 2. Lack of good education. The second reason for poverty is very common. Everyone wants to make a better future, and this is possible after good education. But in many countries where you do not receive your education like your goals, the root cause of poverty is a lack of education. Because, well, education is most important for you and your development. Poverty is a cycle, and without education, people aren't able to better their situations. According to UNESCO, over 170 million people could be free of extreme poverty if they only had basic reading skills. However, in many areas of the world, people aren't getting educated. The reasons vary. Often families need kids to work, there aren't schools close by, or girls aren't being educated because of sexism and discrimination. Number 3. Warfare or conflict. Conflict has a huge impact on poverty. In times of war, everything stops. Productivity suffers as well as a country's GDP. It's very difficult to get things going again, as foreign businesses and countries won't want to invest. Because all people migrate with their neighbor country. They know they have no more bright future here, just like Ukraine and Russia war. Thousands of people were killed in this war and millions of people went poor. For families and individuals, war and conflict can make it impossible to stay in one place. It's also very common for women to become the primary breadwinners, and they deal with many barriers like sexual violence and discrimination. Number 4. Weather/climate change. According to the World Bank, climate change has the power to impoverish 100 million people in the next decade or so. We know climate change causes drought, floods, and severe storms, and that can take down successful countries while pulling poor ones down even further. Recovering is extremely difficult as well, especially for agricultural communities where they barely have enough to feed themselves, let alone prepare for the next harvest year. For which 5 years Asia countries face one-time climate change and millions of people lost their homes, fields, pets, and feeding animals. And government leaves him helpless. Number 5. Social injustice. Whether it's gender discrimination, racism, or other forms of social injustice, poverty follows. People who are victims of social injustice struggle with getting a good education, the right job opportunities, and access to resources that can lift them out of poverty. The United Nations Social Policy and Development Division identifies inequalities in income distribution and access to productive resources, basic social services, opportunities, and more as a cause for poverty. Rich people win here due to their money and famous politician approach and contacts, and on the other side, poor people are scared to move towards the courts. Most affected groups like women, religious minorities, and racial minorities are the most vulnerable. Number 6. Lack of food and water. Without access to essentials like food and water, it's impossible to get out of poverty's cycle. Everything a person does will be about getting food and water. They can't save money because it all goes for their daily needs. When there isn't enough sustenance, they won't have the energy to work. They are also way more likely to get sick, making their financial situation worse. It is not important poverty just in underdeveloped countries. Some developed countries have a poverty ratio but much lower than other countries. We found poverty in every country. Please subscribe to our channel Rugged Capitalist, like, share, and hit the press icon button for more, new, and quick notifications. Number 7. Lack of infrastructure. Infrastructure includes roads, bridges, the internet, public transport, and more. When a community or family is isolated, they have to spend a lot of money, time, and energy getting to places. Without good roads, traveling takes forever. Without public transport, it may be next to impossible to get a good job or even to the store. Infrastructure connects people to the services and resources they need to better their financial and life situation, and without it, things don't get better. But today we give you one country which has satellite but no television, have a mobile phone but has no internet, due to its government not allowing all of these facilities. This country's name is North Korea. North Korea is one of the developed countries, but its President Kim Jong does not allow him any facilities. If anyone speaks against him, North Korea punished him as well. You never want to go to this country. What is your opinion about this country? Tell us with a comment in the comment section. Number 8. Lack of government support. To combat many of the issues we've described, the government needs to be involved. However, many governments are either unable or unwilling to serve the poor. This might mean failing to provide, or cutting, social welfare programs, redirecting funds away from those who need them, failing to build good infrastructure, or actively persecuting the population. If a government fails to meet the needs of the poor will most likely stay that way. Just like you see in Sri Lanka. After COVID-19, they are fully bankrupt. Which government is responsible for this? Number 9. Lack of good health care. Poor people are more likely to suffer from bad health, and those with bad health are more likely to be poor. This is because healthcare is often too expensive or inaccessible to those who need it. Without money for medicine and treatment, the poor have to make really tough decisions, and usually, essentials like food take priority. People who are sick get sicker, and then they can't work, which makes the situation even direr. If people do seek treatment, the cost often ruins their finances. It's a vicious cycle. Number 10. High costs. The last root of poverty is simple: stuff costs too much. Even the basics can be too expensive. According to stats from the World Food Program, the poorest households in the world are spending 60 to 80% of their incomes on food. Food prices are also very unpredictable in certain areas, so when they rise, the poor have to keep cutting out other essentials. Housing is another essential that is rising. Global house markets have been climbing, according to the International Monetary Fund. Income growth, however, has not. Real estate owners earn good profit from this. But poor people have no something to spend on themselves. Thank you for watching and supporting. I hope we meet now in the next video.